Welcome to ShiftWatch. I'm your host, Starbuck. In this episode, Ann Tucker invited me to sit down with her on her channel Wisdom Soup to compare notes on inner Earth, the energetic state of the planet, and monitoring the rapidly advancing changes. Next, the Earthmaster reports of another earthquake swarm near the southern section of the San Andreas fault. Multiple swarms are active on both sides of the Pacific and North American sides of the fault zone. Activity in these areas has been slowly elevating, implying some type of a major magnitude energy release is coming. Then, waking up, a career military pilot comes to terms with his own decades-long multidimensional awareness. These government people aren't whistleblowers, they are experiencers. And finally, I've been presenting information on bilocation, astral projection, and out-of-body experiences recently. So let me provide a wonderful source of enlightenment on the topic of astral projection. Here is a great illustration of this process by the gifted folks at Spirit Science from 2012, and it seems more relevant than ever.
Shyama. Because from this point on, she seems to be chairing this meeting. She's the one that's speaking. And so she begins by explaining that their council is also in harmony with my thinking. Now, she didn't put it that way because she didn't know that at the time, but she had explained that they understood that the shift was imminent.
Okay.
And that they're just waiting for the day to re-engage with the surface because they have things to share with us.
Yeah.
And we certainly have a need for what they have to bring to us, but they were never, ever going to expose their frequency and their vibration level to anything lower. The second time I went back to see about visiting Telos after the first time I went, the second year, I got to see Shyama a second time. And she was at the entryway of that vortex I was telling you about. And when I saw her at first, I asked, I said, why don't you step on? She goes, well, I can't. And I knew why. She can't drop her density that much to drop into here. And I said, well, I knew immediately when I'd asked the question why she didn't. And I said something like, well, who would? And she said, well, you did. Okay, yes, I guess I did. Anyway, let me go back and finish what had happened there. So after she began to tell me that they expected this was going to happen, I was jazzed. Look, for the last 6 months, everything that I had been studying, the nature of the solar phenomenon, the elevated photon energy coming from the central sun and affecting everything as fast. Look, all of those things lined up for me to understand that this is coming soon.
Yeah.
And in my gut, it was the winter solstice of 2020. They kind of got the sense it was the same. I came away with that. So, you're kind of excited and terrified all at the same time. We're not done with catastrophic things on the planet.
Yeah.
But provisions are being made for higher elevated spaces already. We've known a lot of them. But aside from the Glastonburys and Shastas and Sedonas and Ayers Rock, all of these places that we sense, more of them are revealing themselves now. And in my mind, these energetic places are no longer meant to be secret. They're meant to be easier to find because we're that close to this shift in Earth's consciousness that we're modifying our behavior to match hers because it's right around the corner. It was never contingent on all us kumbayaing together. She's gone whether we're ready or not. We're just sentient critters hanging on for the ride. But a lot of us are in tune with it already. And it's amazing to me, the people I hear from more recently, who didn't get any of this for a long time, and all of a sudden something inside of them is energetically changing too. Policemen, attorneys, doctors, who thought that these people would soften up or at least be open-minded enough to
Mhm.
consider that these things outside of my little realm of experience could be true? Yeah, there's something inside of us now that says, damn right it is. Can somebody help us understand? So
Yeah.
when you do these things, and it helps everybody else kind of come into focus. And as I said before, it doesn't mean we're going to have exactly the same experiences. No, it's not. And it's unlikely that you will. However, you're going to have something special. And as part of the tribe, you can come back here and share with the rest of us because it gives validation to what has happened to us. You
Yeah.
really want to hear what's going on. You can't ignore these genuine, authentic
Yeah.
stories that these people have had stored away and nowhere to tell them before. Well, there's a reason why all this is happening now.
Yeah, if you look in the chat, there's many people are sharing how they or someone they knew or and it's amazing. I think it's more and more of us are having uh there's the opportunity for these. So I will tell you, when I went to Shasta, it was several years ago. I went to Shasta and I went to the Peace Garden you mentioned at the beginning of your story. And it was the first time we had just gotten there. My friend that I was traveling with knew about it because it's not really a publicized place.
No.
And we went and I sat down to meditate, my first time meditating at Shasta. And as soon as I closed my eyes, I saw a woman appeared, a beautiful woman, all in white appeared. And she just kind of went like this and then disappeared. And then I meditated. And I didn't know like the significance of that because I wasn't familiar. I didn't know anything about Telos. I didn't know any of the stories. I came out and I told my friend and she knew and she said, "Oh, you were greeted by the woman of the mountain." So that is a thing. And was is more
Yes.
compelling to me that I did not know about her and then saw her and was clearly welcomed, which was amazing. Yeah, but anyways, just to confirm, like it is what's incredible is you actually got to go in and experience it. So was there something, anything was shared with you when you were in the council chambers, when you were in that room, that was something that would be of interest or appropriate to share with the group?
Well, at the end, there were a couple other things that they brought up that just blew me away. The second thing she said about, because I wanted to understand, well, why me? Why'd you pick me? Now,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
don't say those things out loud because you
But
don't want
why?
that energy to
Yeah,
get out there.
yeah.
But I wanted to understand more. The first thing she said, well, we can see that you can hold fifth dimensional awareness. And I didn't know what that meant back then. I have a clear idea of what that means now.
Yeah.
But I didn't then. I was happy to hear it. Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Then she went on to say, and we understand you're the protector of Gaia. Now,
Mm.
that's a lovely notion and a cool title, but that had been uttered to me 2 years before in an ayahuasca ceremony where Mother Ayahuasca told me that's who I was. How
Oh,
did they know that? How did they hear that? I don't know, but you connect the dots multidimensionally if you can. All I
yeah.
know is that it resonated and they knew something that only I, because I'd never repeated any of that yet, they
Yeah.
knew.
Okay.
And then the last was they had asked when the time came that would I be willing to be an emissary or an ambassador to help the transition between what's below the surface and what's on the surface.
Yeah.
And I've grown to understand that's not just a role I'll play, there's more of you. But I want to put that in perspective too.
Yeah.
After these things begin, even with inner earth beings, and there's a lot of them, we are ambassadors. It's
Mhm.
when Dave Wallace crossed my path and I learned how to communicate with beyond earth sentience.
Yeah.
Now we know what our role is. Look, I'm here as a communicator for those beings that are coming here and doing their own explorations. Do you not really think that we're not being visited by beings from somewhere else in higher dimensions because they're doing their own little fam trips to Earth?
Hmm.
Yes, they want to understand what it's like here so they can go back and tell their civilizations before they
Right.
come to visit. So we're not just connecting them, we're connecting to inner earth realms as well. And here's where it all kind of gets multidimensionally mucky because once we connect
Multidimensionally
to it
amazing.
all of these things are just byproducts. If you
Yeah.
want to sit around and argue whether you think there's UFOs in the air, let me tell you, I'm 15 steps ahead of you. I can tell you they're here already, guys. And if you want to go out, I can point you in a direction. But I even went so far as to, once I'd been on some UFO tours and I'd seen them in the sky, and too many for this to be anything but what it is, I
Yeah.
had bought an infrared camera. And over time, Anne, I had so much evidence, I finally got tired of doing it. I left
Yeah.
it with somebody else. Here, it's your turn
Yeah.
because, man, you go out on almost any night and just point it at a spot in the sky. Pick Vega, pick something that you can see, and I
Yeah.
promise you'll see traffic.
Yeah. No, I get that at a certain point, the conversation of is it true or not becomes less interesting because it is no longer a question in your own mind. And then it becomes, where do we go from here? Yeah.
Well, here's now where contact begins. Those
Mhm.
blue orbs that are coming in our direction, I can begin to tell you about what telomeres are. And if you haven't had experiences and you want them, I can tell you how you can start to nurture that because all of this is accelerating, isn't it?
Got some movement down across the San Andreas Fault here, the southern segment. That is the south branch of the San Andreas Fault, with a little swarm going on here. Not really a good thing to see here on this Friday. Really no main quake, just a bunch of small microquakes out here. Nothing above 2.5, but it is a little cluster of quakes here of about 15 earthquakes just off the San Andreas Fault here, where things are, well, they're quite tense, quite strained out here, and they have been for over 300 years. Along that southern branch of the San Andreas Fault is when the last big one took place. Now, according to many geologists and scientists, they feel that this southern branch here of the San Andreas Fault can produce an 8.1 due to the amount of strain that has been building up since the last big rupture out here. And of course, the length of the fault system, the plate boundary here, has a lot to do with that magnitude as well. Of course, the larger slip here, in terms of rupture along that plate boundary, the larger the earthquake will be. But they throw around a number of an 8.1 earthquake there for the southern branch of the San Andreas Fault. And if you think about the central segment up here and a little bit further up north here as well, a lot of time has passed since we've had any large earthquake activity. But still on location, still covering earthquake activity. I'm hoping anything that big that may take place out here holds off until I can get home. But this swarm that we're seeing here today looks like it fired up. There's a lot of that's from yesterday. There was a little separate swarm down here on the Pacific side of the plate boundary. Here's today's swarm. This is yesterday's swarm of about, see how many earthquakes we got here. About 12 earthquakes. A couple more from today as well. Looks like 4 of them. And it's just right over here where today's activity is ramping up. So, the plate boundary is the main culprit that accumulates all the strain. A lot of these other fault systems prior to the plate boundary, they got their own slip accumulation there, and they can see earthquake activity. But the main plate boundary here is the one that we have to watch, and that's the San Andreas Fault. And it is not looking good today as far as activity there south and just on the opposite side here of the plate boundary. That's a key indicator here of a really strained area along that plate boundary. And this is just in the last 24 hours. If we account for all the elevated activity out here in Southern California in the past several weeks and past few months, we've seen a lot. This could very well be pointing to something big happening. And then when it does take place, we'll have all this data to go back on and see what transpired. Where's my brain at? Transpired before that big earthquake struck. So it's just something we got to watch, got to be prepared for. It's coming. I've been hearing about it for a long time, right? I'm sure many of you have as well, but these could very well be telltale signs here that a big one is imminent. Now, whether it's happening today or in the next couple weeks, that's something we're going to have to watch, folks, and see how it plays out. But we got two separate swarms here, one on the Pacific side, one on the North American side, and right there is where the southern branch is. All right, moving up further north here, we even got a little bit of activity south along the Imperial Fault today. So this whole area is just kind of, it's moving. But remember, folks, these little earthquakes do nothing at all. In fact, I think Dr. Lucy Jones here, she put out little interesting social media posts that it takes 3,000 or 5,000 3-pointers to relieve the strain of a 5-pointer, as far as energy accumulation goes. So these little earthquakes, even the 3s and 4s, do nothing to eliminate the inevitable. And that's the big earthquake activity that is in the future. That is, there's nothing we can do about it. The best thing to do is be prepared. Make sure you have an earthquake plan. Los Angeles area, pretty quiet. Not a whole lot going on there for now. Across the area, further up north, Bay Area, some movement out here in between the Hayward and the Calaveras Fault. This is another region that has seen a little bit of swarming as well there in the area. Let's see how many earthquakes we got there in total tally. About 24 or so. Bunch of 1s, some 2s. I think we even had a 3.9 in that mix as well. Again, just another area that we've witnessed here in the last several weeks of increasing movement all across the California area.
Oh, it's 35 years ago and it still does that to me. Oh my God. And I was home. There was this energy that I knew I was home, finally home. And I think God did what he did next because he knew me. And I'm an engineer. I have a mind of an engineer. I need proof. I'm very pragmatic, logical, down to earth kind of guy. And if he had not done this, what he did next, I would have probably written it all off as just a dream. But what happened next is this moment in all of this happening when I was in the light where I had this, what I call the urge to merge. There's this deep instinctive desire to go be in the light. It's all you want. You don't want anything else. I had a wife and a 2.5-year-old son. Didn't even think about them. You can't, because your consciousness is just overwhelmed with all this, and that's all you want is to go deeper in the light. And when that happened, I physically sat up in bed and had my arms out. And when I opened my eyes, and my face is all wet, and then there was, and I'm looking at the foot of the bed at the wall at the other end of the room, and there's no wall. The light is in my bedroom. God's in my bedroom. It was like 1 billion stars lit up the room, and I could see my wife's feet out of the peripheral vision of my eyes, and I knew she had her back to me. And I'm thinking, how can she sleep through this? It's like freaking bright as it can be in here. How can she sleep through this? And then I went, this is real. I had enough time to think, this is happening. I got in my bedroom. This is real. And as soon as that happened and I knew it was real, I was saying it in my head, it was like a 10-foot circle, no wall. It all went, not in an instant, but it came down and just kind of went to the center from the outer edges and just went away. And I just went, no. I just lost the greatest love I'll ever know. It just got ripped away from me. And I don't know why I didn't get to stay. I don't know why it left. I didn't know anything. I just sat there, and the wall had this undulating spiritual energy or something in it for the rest of the night. And I sat there and just watched the wall because that's all I had left of it. And as the sun came up and the room slowly lit up, it faded away. And then my wife wakes up. She sees me crying. She goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Oh, and I just cried. And I was finally able to tell her everything. And so You know, and so prayer is powerful. I tell people that now. But what I've come to understand is conscious prayer, everybody knows and understands what its purpose is, right? What I now understand is it's all thought is prayer, and it affects the entire universe because of quantum entanglement. And so be careful what you pray for all day long. So I'm learning these things, and now I'm coming to the point of understanding why love and positive thoughts and all of that is so important. And as I've changed my way of thinking, I've literally changed my body and restoring my health, doing it that way, and being kind and loving as I can.
If 10 million fireflies lit up the world as I fell asleep, 'cause they fill the open air and leave teardrops everywhere. You'd think me rude, but I would just stand and stare. I'd like to make myself believe that planet Earth turns slowly. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, 'cause everything is never as it seems. 'Cause I'd get 1,000 hugs from 10,000 lightning bugs as they tried to teach me how to dance. A foxtrot above my head, a sock hop beneath my bed, a disco ball is just hanging by a thread. It's hard to say that I'd rather stay awake when I'm asleep, because my dreams are bursting at the seams.